Good evening, my dear friends. Um, yeah, today. The plan for today is the following. So I managed to get the steel beam through the hole, and yeah, with thank God, not a lot of lifting effort. I did the lifting all by this chain pull, so that was not. It was as easy as I imagined it, and now I want to slide it through there into this hole. And but before I do that, I have to prepare. I have to prepare this beam over there, so that the beam can slide over this beam, and then I have to do the same over here. So those are the next steps. So let's mark the beams as I want to. I have to cut them a bit on the top and the bottom. I have to mark it now, then do some cutting, and then the next step. So now you see now this shape of the beam has to go around like this. So this is the reason why I had to chisel out a gap like this. And slowly to turn around, I don't want to fall down, and a gap similar also this way and also up here. So this was now quite laborious work, which I did with a couple of my tools. As I was saying, for my multi-tool, honestly, God bless the guys who came up with this idea. Basically what it does, you have a blade, which my blade is now already a bit used. Let's see if the camera can get it. So basically there are different kinds of blades you can put on this multi-tool. This one has a small teeth here on the front. What it does, it vibrates or oscillates with a rapid movement, and this is the way how you can cut things. You can cut wood, metal, you can even grind something, stone, metal, and everything. That's why it's called multi-tool. You can literally use it for multiple applications, and I'm so thankful that that this exists. It helped me so much over the years working with that. And so when you look at what I did, I used it to cut in this direction and also in that direction, and I couldn't get fully through, but still, I mean, a lot of the work was done by the multi-tool, and then I had it to chisel it away manually, and the same over here. And yeah, it just shows you how much there is always, for a certain job, the right tool. And yeah, and if you apply the right tool, it makes your life so much easier. And now the next task will be that I somehow have to get this beam all the way through. And I think I will post one of these support beams on this side and clamp it together. So to clamp this support plate here onto the steel beam, and then later on I can make again a skateboard for poor people for the lower part of the support beam. So I can then push the beam in any direction I want. And I put a beam, the same support beam, on the other side. I think I will just do it, and then you will see it on the video what I mean. And then I can lift it up so it's not lying anymore on the wall, and then I can easily push it over there and yeah, try to fit it into that hole.
And sorry I didn't record this part, but this is what I did. So I used two support beams and screwed them on these, what I call them, skateboard for the poor people. And then put that on one side, of the wall and also on the other side, and lifted the beam up. And then I was able to push the beam forwards and backwards and also sideways in which place I needed it. And that's the way how I got the beam through and pushed it into the hole on the other side of the wall.
So the plan for today would be that this wooden beam is standing on the inside of the steel beam, and what I want to do, I want to incorporate another beam right next to it, which will also sit on this beam on the inside, go all the way up here, and then sit here right next to this beam here on this new steel beam on the inside. I have prepared this beam, which is 16 by 16 centimeters in width and thickness, and so now I have to cut out a chunk of wood here on that end and also on that end. So those will be the ends which will sit on the steel beams. And yeah, after I incorporate that on the ceiling, then I'm almost finished to slide the steel beam on the wood beams. And also, guys, if you have to adjust anything and keeping the blade open like this, because what now I want to do is adjust the height of the blade. You see, I can now slide, and what I want to do, I want to measure now the height or the depth at which I will cut. Whenever you do this, please take the plug out of the socket, be power off, or take the battery out if you have a battery driven circular saw, because yeah, you can imagine if I have my finger in here and for some reason I pull the trigger and starts off, this can go bad and you can cut your finger off or even injure something or whatever. Please, safety first. Unplug it, take the battery out, do the readjustment, and then you're good to go. And now, okay, and this additional beam is up. You see, I slid it here onto the steel beam, and then I lifted it up and put this support beam in, which I can easily adjust in height by pressing this handle, and then I connected it here and here again. So I can then remove this, and for now it will hold. And you see now that's the thing. So this part over here, which is cut, will slide into the beam and then sit on the beam. And yeah, additional structural thing. Why? Because you see those boards here, they were sitting on that beam, and the weight of those boards over here is sitting on that beam, which is sitting on that one. So I want to take some weight off this middle one, which will be done by this one. So this will carry those boards, and this will carry those boards. And yeah, so I take a bit of weight of the middle one, and that's it, just to distribute the load from above a bit better. Okay, the beam is almost set. So it's here already at the right depth of 20 centimeters inside, and I had to still cut off some of this upper part, otherwise this part wouldn't fit in here. And now I have to slide the beam on this one, on this one, and that one. And I saw there is a bit of friction here on this part, so somehow I have to push it, and I think I will place this card jack in this gap here. So I will push against the wall and then press the jack on this side of the beam, and then let's figure out, this is at this part I have the biggest lever to push the beam in that direction, and then I think it will slide on that one. Let's see if I can make this happen. And yesterday I managed to finally put the steel beam in its right position. You can see here now. Maybe let's see. Okay, so this beam is sitting inside of the steel beam, and it's as flush as it is as possible. And also this one is sitting inside. Now you can see there is a gap here which I will fill with some pieces of wood. I will hammer them inside, and also here this is a larger gap which I will fit. I will cut a piece of wood and glue it on the upper one, and also fix it with some screws, and then it will sit on the steel beam. And yeah, so I tucked it into this hole, and then somehow I had to push it on that beam, and I did it with this car jack, car lift, and this worked very nicely. So task for today is to close this hole. So that means all the bricks which I took out of that part are coming back in, and also I want to close this hole and also this gap here, and then the steel beam is fixed in place. Yeah, and this is the task for today, and then I'm basically done with that part. Yeah, and one thing, I think I will do a very detailed video on what kind of materials you can use, and there is such a huge assortment right now on the market of different plaster materials and so on, concrete sorts, and which is amazing. So it really helps me so much for every work I have to do. There are materials which you can use for different thicknesses on the wall, for special applications on the floor, inside or outside, and so on. And it's really amazing. There was so much development in the last 20 years which I could witness and follow. And so yeah, I want to spend, let's say, a own video on that. But for now, so if in general, if you have to mix some concrete, plaster material, whatever from the bag, the thing is, I see this, I would say, in my opinion, it's a real mistake. What you should do, you mix it with water, but the biggest mistake, in my opinion, which you can make is that the people put the material first and then the water afterwards. So what I suggest you is that you put water first and then the material inside. Why? Because if I put water first here, there is a layer of water on the ground and also on the inner walls. And if I put the material inside, then the material can really slide while I mix it then. So it won't stick on the inside walls. Otherwise, if I put the material first, it will stick, and it's sort of like can be a bit clunky, and we want to avoid this. And the way you do it, you put the water first and then the material afterwards, and you will see it now if I show you. I won't go now into the details of this material, but the thing is, you will see it always on the bag. Ooh, dusty. You will see it always on the bag, that what the manufacturer of the material tells you, how much water you have to add on the amount in the bag. So roughly, let's see here. Yeah, it's around 5 liters of water per bag, and usually in all the buckets of water, in some of them you have inside a scale which tells you how many liters of water you have in the bucket, and then you use this approximate rule of 5 liters per bag, and then you put the right amount of water first and then the material afterwards, and then you start to mix. And yeah, you can adjust it. If you want to have the material a bit thinner, you just add a bit more water. If you want to have it a bit thicker, you add more material to the bucket in which you mix it. And yeah, so I will go ahead. And also one thing which I suggest you, if you work with plaster, concrete, whatever it is, please, if you can, wear some gloves. Why? The material has, from the pH value, it's not acid, it's basic, but still it can irritate your skin, can damage your skin. And honestly, if you work with the material without gloves, you will see that your whole skin dries out, and you can basically, especially on the upper side of your hands, the skin can start to break up. So in order to avoid that, there are gloves. You put gloves on, you get used to them, and you're safe to go. And also, what I always do, I put a proper mask on. The material also, you shouldn't land in your lungs. You shouldn't inhale it. That's what a mask is for, especially when you mix it, when this huge dust cloud tends to come up. This is, I would suggest that you put on a mask, and then later on, if the dust settles, you can take it off, and yeah, this is the safe way to work with these materials.
Okay, let's start to mix. And this is another point. If you add water, just do it slowly. Don't over-exaggerate. Just put a little bit of water and mix it again, and then check for the consistency of the material, and then continue.
Also, one thing to add. Let's see. Okay, let's go slowly up and check the situation. So, as you can see, there is some debris over here. There is dust on that, and this is one big mistake which I could do now. If I just put the material on this dust layer, it won't stick as it should. So it will still slide over the brick, and it won't stick. So in order to get that out, I will clean this off a bit, and then clean it off with water. Yeah. you take a brush like that and you just remove this upper layer of dust, then you're good to go. This is another mistake which of course never happened to me, just to other people, but yeah, this has to be cleaned off in order to be able for the plaster, for the new plaster, to stick to the brick as it should. So guys, the thing is, now what do? I have this trowel and I have this board. Yeah, bit of a crack, but still. What I do, I always take some material, put it on up that, so I can hold it up here, and then take and throw it on the place at which I need it. And yeah, for this one I take the larger one. There are also smaller ones like this, and it's not just for holding material, it's basically later on to rub on the material to make it straight if you put plaster on the wall. So this is for what you use this one, and you can use different sizes to apply different pressure to the fresh plaster. But for this case, I just use it to hold the material up here. And yeah, I will now start to close this hole, close this gap. And also what I do, I take the brick and also put it just a bit into the water. Otherwise it will suck the water quickly inside and the fresh plaster dries out, which you just put on the brick. So I just put the side on which I want to put the plaster on a bit into the water shortly. You see, like this, and then I'm good to go. And guys, one thing, you don't have to use just the newly bought bricks. You can also use the ones which came out. If they are still as a whole, there's absolutely nothing wrong with reusing them or recycling them and putting them back in. So they are good to go. And now you see I'm on the other side, and I'll now remove this car jack, because this beam already is really pushing on the steel beam, and there is so much friction between the wood and the beam that it won't slide back. So I can put the car jack out. And then now you see what is on the other side. I already put that layer of bricks. Now I'll do this on that side. And of course, when you look at it, this first layer I put went in this direction. The next layer goes perpendicular. The next layer goes perpendicular. This is how you spread all the load from above evenly on all the bricks. So there is an even load on the lower layer, on the lowest layer of the bricks. And yeah, let's continue on that side. And if you have smaller gaps, smaller voids, you take chunks of the bricks, or you knock them off with the hammer from a whole brick, and then you stuff them. You stuff the pieces in order to close the voids. Now that I filled almost everything up, let's see, there is this gap which remains, so it's hard to throw the plaster into this gap from this side. Will probably be hard to do it from the other side as well, so you use this trowel then. So I'll put some material on that board. And then I can slide the material into the gap slowly. And yeah, this side is done. So here is a bigger chunk of wood. I connected it with a couple of screws and this plate, so it won't be able to slide out. But yeah, I needed quite some force to hammer it in, so it's, I think just by hammering it in, it already is pretty stuck in there. But yeah, this plate will additionally strengthen this, and yeah, this is where I punched as much as I could thinner pieces of wood into the gaps, and I could remove the support beams. And yeah, finally, I mean, this is what was quite demanding. It took me almost a week, almost half a day to get the old beams out, and then last week till I got the steel beam up and got it into place. But yeah, thank God this is over.